I'll call the Common Council meeting to order. October 8th, 2019, notice has been duly posted. Roll call.
Mayor Joe Chilson,
Present.
Tom Smith,
Present.
Dan Stevens,
Present.
Bundi Ayer,
Here.
Jim Olson,
Here.
Kim Smith,
Here.
Diane Wolf.
Present.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Excuse me. City Council committee and subcommittee meetings shall be conducted in a courteous manner. Citizens, council, and committee members shall be allowed to state their positions in an atmosphere free of slander, insults, obscene remarks, threats of violence, or for the use of the common council or any committee meeting as a platform for political positions. Sufficient warning may be given by the Sergeant at Arms at any time during the remarks, and in the event that any individual shall violate the rules of decorum heretofore set forth, such person may be cut off from further comment or debate. Thank you. Public input. Anybody wishing to give public input, please step to the podium. Second call, anyone wishing to give public input. Third and final call, anyone wishing to give public input. That portion is now closed. Report from the mayor. So I had a report here where, oh yeah, there we go. Library statistics. Last month, the activity was 12,907 residents for a year-to-date total of 132,721 residents. And for the record, 7.49% of the people that come through our library are from the city of La Crosse. Also, we collected $125 in revenue in September with a total of $1,050 year-to-date. So the library continues to be a great place for us to have in our city. Recognition of probation completion by Onalaska firefighter Mitch Schulte. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I would like to thank you for this opportunity. I always like being before you and sharing good news, and tonight is more good news. I also want to recognize the members of the Onalaska Fire Department who are with us tonight to also honor firefighter Schulte for his completion of probation, along with 127 President Lance Trigstad and 127 Onalaska Representative Andrew Barnhart. With that, Mitch has several family members with him this evening to see this great occasion. Mitch was one of my first hires back in 2018, right after I got here, October a year ago. During that time, he was initially assigned to C shift under Lieutenant Corey Yankovich, but as you know, we had some staffing issues and departures and injuries, and he willingly stepped up and decided he would accept a transfer over to A shift under Lieutenant Brian Everson. Under Lieutenant Yankovich and Lieutenant Everson, they both have recommended proudly that firefighter EMT Schulte be completion of his probation and be approved, as well as Assistant Chief Troy Goody and myself. And we approved that, and with that, we would ask our city clerk to administer the oath to firefighter Schulte.
So smile good. If you raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Mitch Schulte, having been appointed to the office of Unalaska firefighter, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
And I bet you if we talk to Hope, she will take your picture with Mitch if you would like.
Now the most important moment, because there's a nervous mom in the audience who is going to pin the badge on. Thank you.
Okay. Update regarding 2020 census activity in the city of Onalaska. Carrie, would you like to handle that?
I certainly can. We had a meeting with a representative that is starting the 2020 census for our area. It will actually be conducted next spring in March and April, but they're getting some activity in the area right now. They're doing some address checking, things like that. So we will start seeing people in the area. They are advertising for employees, looking for people to help them complete that. We do have some flyers posted on the doorways and in our office. So just a reminder to encourage people to respond to that, especially our snowbirds that might be away during that time. They might not have returned to the city of Onalaska before they're taking that census, so they respond with their Onalaska address and not where they actually are residing at that point in time. So we'll be doing a lot of promoting of it. We do have a video on our website promoting that, and I think the police department has also added that to their Facebook page to get, a little more push out there. So just to let you know that they're in the area and everything is starting.
Thank you, Carrie. I'm sorry. I know that we had talked about, I was going to do that, but thank you for being Johnny on the spot, as my mom used to say. Okay, update from Fire Chief Billy D. Hayes on the La Crosse Area Planning Committee conducting a study on fire and EMS service sharing in La Crosse County.
Yes,
Chief?
good evening again. So we have completed 2 meetings through the La Crosse Area Planning Committee at La Crosse County in discussion of a shared services study. President of the council, Wolf, and the mayor and myself attended the last, along with several of the other fire chiefs in the county of La Crosse, as well as the city. But then also this last meeting, they were in addition in presence as well. And with that, we came up with the vote as to which cities would want to participate in this. To give you a little further background, since the first meeting, the county and the planning committee have accepted the role of sharing the costs, so it would cost nothing for the city to participate in this. This is a look at how we can share services in the county, whether it's fire and EMS, but also there's a lot of things that come into that, whether it's response and mutual aid, or whether it be joint purchasing, whether it be joint training, or whether it be ultimately down the road it could be consolidation or what we call regionalization. At that meeting, by myself, I did not feel I was the one to be able to respond on behalf of the city. What the city would have to do is assign the fire chief, because the advisory committee working with the Wisconsin Policy Forum would work with an advisory board of the fire chief and administrator from the city, whether it's an elected official or the city administrator from each jurisdiction that's going to participate. They need a decision as to whether the city of Onalaska would be willing to participate in that. I expressed my thought at the meeting just for myself. I think we have nothing to lose because it's not going to cost us anything other than a little work in sharing the data, which we should already have anyway and be able to present, as well as, you know, we're moving forward with an impact fee study and other things for the city. I have that data already available. I think it would be beneficial for us to participate in it, just to see where we can improve services. Doesn't mean we all have to be one big fire department, but it does mean we can share services, not so much to save money, and they were very careful in how they said this. This isn't about saving money, it's about improving quality of service and service delivery to the end customer. So that's just a quick update of the meetings that we've had so far. I can tell you that the only two departments that I know of that have yet to vote on it would be Campbell and West Salem. They asked for additional 30 days to go back to their elected officials and discuss it. Holman, the city of La Crosse, and Bangor have all said yes, as well as Tri-State Ambulance. They have gone into it, as well as La Crosse County Communications. So just to see how we can explore working together cooperatively.
Yes.
Thank you. County Administrator O'Malley did reach out to me, inquired if I'd be interested in working and participating with the group as well as administrator. I said that all depended on the council's action this evening, if they decided to participate or not.
Okay. Because he talked to me also, so, wow. I don't know how we're gonna do that, but,
I just wanted to provide an update from the last meeting.
Okay.
We're with it, because that was one step further than the first meeting, so.
But I would ask if there's direction that can be given by the elected officials if we wish to participate.
I
or
will
not.
ask for a vote. A vote on whether or not, somebody needs to make a motion on whether or not we move forward with this. Yes, Alder Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move that we authorize our fire chief and our city administrator to,
Just a point of order, because it's in a report, I think just maybe a head nod would be more appropriate, because it's not an actionable item.
Does it not say? It does not say, it says update. Yes, it is not an actionable item.
Did my part then.
Okay, yes, I'll take care of this. Okay. Item E, appointment to Connor Nagy, 516 8th Avenue North, Onalaska, to Park and Rec Board. I believe, Dan, that you can speak to this?
I can, thank you, Your Honor. I have two main thoughts on this. I am familiar with Mr. Nagy. He had graduated from high school with my daughter Isabel. I know him to be a fine young man of good moral character, and he certainly has an interest in government, and I think that he would make a good addition to the Parks and Rec Board. Secondly, I would like to commend you, Your Honor, on the timeliness of being able to make this appointment happen. We did not have a quorum at our last Parks and Rec meeting, and your willingness to appoint a young man like Connor, which kind of makes me feel like an old man, but it injects some youth, and it's a nice thing to see young people participating.
Yeah.
So, thank you for that.
Well, I think a number of us are glad that we can put young people on any chance that we can get. We don't often get volunteers that are of the age of Connor, so thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve the appointment of Connor Nagy to the Onalaska Parks and Recreation Board.
I will second that.
Motion made by Alder Wolf, seconded by Alder Stevens to approve Connor Nagy. Appointment to the Park and Rec Board, City of Onalaska. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? Abstentions? Yes.
Connor, I just, for clarification, clarification, I just want to make sure the previous item that we had with the update there, I think that the city attorney had directed us that maybe she wanted a head nod on it. I don't think we particularly.
We can go by consensus.
Yeah, we don't need a motion in a second, but I think you were looking for something for direction.
Yeah, you can give him direction. I just don't think we can do it via like a motion. It's
Oh,
not
okay. We're
actionable
looking,
in that
yes,
sense, but I think he's just looking for direction. I think you can probably give him that.
Okay, council, will you give, this is what I ask of the council. You give the city administrator and I the ability to work this out and make this happen, okay? Are you okay with that?
With the
Or
fire
not?
department issue?
No, with the,
Yes.
yes, with the fire department issue.
Sorry.
Sorry, I was wrong. Yeah.
For clarification, at this point, this is information gathering, or are we making a commitment for the city? Chief, maybe.
You were there, I just know the.
Flip.
What they are looking for from the
Is a
city of
commitment.
Onalaska is to whether we want to participate in this. Again, there is no cost from the city other than the administrator and myself participating on advisory committee to be a part of this study, which would essentially be gathering data, presenting it on behalf of the city, our budget, our staffing, our manpowers, our call response, our area, that type of stuff. They need that from the different jurisdictions to kind of lay out what would work best for us. So they're just looking for somebody from us.
I think we all can agree that the chief and the city administrator will deal with this. Are we okay with that? Yes.
And just to be clear, to answer the question, there is no commitment to any changes. This is information gathering and to prepare a study to provide an overview of the services in the area.
Right.
Thank you.
It's to guide the process. Okay, we're okay with that? Sure. Okay, good.
Collective head nod.
Okay, it's Chief and Eric then. You're it. Okay. Recommendation for approval and/or possible action from the following committees, commissions, and boards. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member requests removal, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in order of business in the non-consent agenda. Does any member of the council want any items moved to the non-consent agenda? Jim?
I just have one question on 12, Resolution 37, 2019. How would you like that handled? Separately?
The non-consent.
That's on the non-consent already,
All right.
okay?
Motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
Motion made by Alder Wolf, seconded by Alder Ayer to approve the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. The non-consent agenda, we had nothing taken off the consent agenda, so we'll go in the order. Finance Committee,
Thank you, Your Honor. Under item 8, Finance Committee A vouchers, the following is a list of monies expended since the last Common Council meeting dated September 10th of 2019. The total is $2,468,939.76. I move we approve these vouchers.
Second?
motion made by Alder K. Smith, seconded by Alder Olson to approve the vouchers in the amount of $2,468,939 $1,079.76. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Judiciary Committee.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ordinance number 1652, 2019, has been requested that we move this to the next council meeting.
Okay, ordinance 1652,
19.
219, we'll need a motion to send to the council next month. Yes,
I can't make the motion, but we should probably have one before I talk, right? I guess beforehand.
I'll make a motion that we would table ordinance 1652-2019 until the next meeting.
I'll refer it.
I will refer it then.
Right, that's what you told us to do, right?
Is there a second?
Second.
We would like it referred for like 4 months.
4 months?
I will amend my motion. I move that we refer ordinance 1652-2019 for 4 months until the February Common Council meeting.
And I will second that motion.
Motion made by Alder Stevens, seconded by Alder Wolf to move ordinance 1652-2019 to the February Common Council meeting. Discussion? Yes.
Just to provide an explanation, this is tied to a project that is in the capital improvement, and so one kind of hinges on the other, and so that's the reason for delaying.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved.
Okay, I've been told the next two can be taken together, so I assume that is correct. But ordinance number 1655, 2019, to create Chapter 1 of Title 16 of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Onalaska relating to property maintenance, and also ordinance number 1656, 2019, to create Title 14 of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Onalaska relating to signs for the suspend the rules for the first, second, and final readings.
Second.
Hold it a minute. We have to make a motion to suspend. Okay. Pardon me? For both of them?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a motion to suspend 1655, 2019, and 1656, 2019. Is there a second to that motion?
I seconded.
Seconded by Alder Wolf. Motion made by Alder T. Smith to suspend. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? The rules are suspended.
Okay. Then we'll go ahead and proceed with 9B, ordinance 1655, 2019, to create Chapter 1 of Title 16 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Onalaska relating to property maintenance for the first, second, and final reading. And also the ordinance number 1656, 2019, to create Title 14 of the Code of Ordinances for the City of Onalaska relating to signs for the first, second, and final reading.
Second.
Motion made by Alder T. Smith and seconded by Alder Iyer to approve ordinance 1655, 2019 and 1656, 2019. Yes, Council?
Just a couple of points on the sign code. I had at at A&J, I had said that this was essentially an ordinance to remove the sign code in its current form and create it in Title 14. Well, that is still true. There were a couple minor changes made. Those were the changes that were outlined at the Plan Commission. Primarily, it was adding in the new districts. And so right now, all of the existing districts are in there, but also all of the new districts for the new zoning code are in there. And then there were a couple just minor changes with roof signs, and cleaning up a couple different languages. So there are just a few, and they were in there in the version you saw at A&J. I just didn't realize that they were in there. And they were also outlined to Plan Commission, and they didn't have any issues with those changes. And then the reason you have a new copy in front of you tonight is because we realized that there were references throughout it that were inaccurate, so we just corrected those. So no substantive changes there, just fixing those references.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Item 10, Park and Recreation.
Your Honor, as on the Parks and Recreation Board met within the last period, and unfortunately, we did not have a quorum, which you've helped solve today, due to the retirement of former board member Aspenson. And there was a request brought to the city for a canine frisbee toss and fetch league. This was brought forth by a local resident, Miss Gammerdinger, I believe, and this has no financial impact against the city. There's no liability to the city, as that they will be providing their own insurance. The only reason that this is on the non-consent agenda is we did not have a quorum, although all members present, which would include Chairman Knott, Vice Chair Benko, and myself, were enthusiastic towards this and look forward to having a unique event that brings people into our local parks. So I would encourage people to support item 10A. Or I move, rather, that we approve in our city parks the canine frisbee toss and fetch league.
There's a motion by Alder Stevens, second by Alder Ayer, to approve the request to use the city park for a canine frisbee toss fetch league. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Human Resources Director report. Hope, you're on.
Thank you, Your Honor. I just wanted to give some results from the first employee engagement survey. And so just to summarize, the memo that I have with the agenda is basically just to say that Amy and I had been looking at some engagement survey questions, and then with department heads, kind of went over the ones that were the most wanting to be used. So we asked a couple of questions about, do you feel valued at work, and how happy are you at work? And so with over 100 employees receiving the survey, 47 responded, which is actually a fairly decent response. 51% of employees said they felt valued, and then 48% said they didn't. The second question that we discovered with the survey was, it was supposed to be on a scale of 1 to 10, and it was actually a scale of 1 to 5. Because we found out later that a couple people had said, well, I couldn't put anything higher than a 5. So ultimately, the survey was 1 to 5. So those results ended up being 3.3%. Overall comments, I think, which we've probably already heard all over the place, is, lack of staffing in public safety. I think lack of trust for management, elected officials, things like that, employees feeling like they're replaceable or disposable. I think you probably hear that almost every employer. Not to say that they're not valid concerns, but I think those are things that just our employees feel. They are pleased with the benefits and then generally enjoy their work, and have concerns about lack of communication and accountability. Some suggestions were, from this survey, we're also looking at other municipalities of same sizes and wages, employee retention, staffing members, looking at some sort of a reward program, additional staffing, options to improve morale and employee retention, and then just lead by example, and department heads and administration to, pull their own weight. I think it's just a communication of understanding of what departments do. And so overall, the summary, I think, of the, basically in the engagement survey, really just had to deal with communication and accountability. So some of the things that department heads, along with the administrator and myself, have been working on is looking at how we can do add staffing to the budget, which Eric is going to be presenting today, with looking at adding additional staff for our public safety departments, and how can we do that. Looking at, for capital improvement, to have a compensation study done so that we can have, or look overall at what we have for compensation for all staff across the board. And then our department heads really, working together to look at shortages with their departments, particularly with public safety, but just in trying to do what they can to improve things in their each departments. So really what, I just wanted to present this as just informational only. Again, it's just looking for your support with some of the things that we have added to the budget. I think assists the city in that process. And it assists the department heads and Eric and myself with trying to improve things with the city. I think overall we have a lot of good employees here, and we want to do what we can to retain them. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Report from the city administrator.
Thank you, Your Honor. The resolution's 37, 2019, to withdraw request to create La Crosse Area Metropolitan Sewage District. We request that we refer that to a special council meeting to be held this month, preferably October 21st, if that works.
What day of the week is that?
It's a Monday.
October 21st. How is everybody's calendar?
Did that change from the proposed date of October 30th, or is that a different?
No, this is the date to take action on this resolution. The meeting is still set for October 30th. The hearing, is set for October 30th. If I may, in terms of that request of the dates, we do have a tentative agreement on the police departments, but we will need to vote upon that prior to our next council meeting as well. So there'll be hopefully another agenda item on that for that same date, as well as a potential date for the Finance and Personnel 2 meeting. Could also be that day, if it works.
Everybody okay with that?
I can't tell you that for me right now.
Do we have a time frame?
What time?
Could we do earlier?
I leave the time too. It's a particular day. There's nothing on the calendar that day for meetings, so if it's 5 o'clock or whatever works amongst yourselves.
I think I'm okay.
I'm fine.
I'm going to be gone the end of that week, but I'll be here.
What's the earliest that would work for everybody after 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock.
I would prefer 5:15 or so.
What about court?
Other direction you're looking at?
We have court on the calendar that evening. Can you verify that you do not have court that day? Monday's usually court. But that was one day that I had highlighted here that we did not have court on the calendar.
Wow,
What,
could we meet over there?
that would be the joint night. I don't know, is that typically the third week of the month? Or is that I don't have the calendar for the other municipalities because we don't attend that night.
Okay.
I mean, if they are, we'll find it on the rule, but that might just be the only conflict, that you wouldn't have to be there.
I would not have to be there, no, they just might be using the room.
Okay.
So are we looking closer to 4 or 5? Are we talking about 4 possibly? Dan,
I'll be there if it's
Tim, are you able to?
shortly after the
I'm pretty sure I
working
can
day.
do it
that'd
anytime
be
that day.
nice, but
That's, I'm
it's-
looking at my work.
I can make adjustments.
Yeah, I just have a 6:30 in La Crosse, so if we could do closer to 4,
On Tuesday or Monday?
but Monday the 21st?
Should be able to do that.
Yeah.
Date
I'm
are we
open.
looking at
I'm
now?
free.
21st. 21st, right? Okay.
21st, 4.
What time? 4 a.m. Okay.
I'll be up. I'll be up.
I'll still be awake. She's just getting up at that time.
I'm still up.
Okay, so 4 o'clock on the 21st.
That'll work.
Okay.
We would need a motion to refer to that date, please.
Yes, we'll need a motion to set that date.
I move that we defer Resolution 37-2019 to a future meeting of October 21st at 4 PM, City Council meeting.
I'll second.
Motion by K. Smith, seconded by Alder T. Smith to set a meeting to discuss Resolution 37-2019 on October 21st at 4 PM in City Hall. Room to be determined. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions. So moved. Set budget hearing for Monday, November 11th. Oh, that's you doing that. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
No.
horn in on your. That's under you.
Part B actually is me first.
Part B. Oh, introduction of the 2020 administrative budget. So, but this is your gig here, so I shouldn't be horning in on it.
To the Honorable Mayor Joe Chilson, Common Council, and residents of Onalaska, I am pleased to present the Executive 2020 budget for the City of Onalaska. This proposal is based on my review of staff and committee recommendations, but necessarily uses estimates and assumptions until the final budget is approved by you and further information unavailable at this time is gathered. In my budget preparation memo sent to staff in June, I asked that each department prepare a budget that encompasses all actual costs to do business for the year. Justified requests from that process are included in this proposed budget. Key highlights include budget restraints. As in every year, the state imposes two kinds of budget restraints: the levy limit on the revenue side of the ledger and expenditure restraints on the expense side. Exceeding the allowable levy means reducing state aids to offset the levy overage in the current budget. Exceeding the expenditure restraint means the loss of an expenditure restraint payment, or ERP, to the city as revenue in a following budget. Historically, for Onalaska, the expenditure restraint cap has been the most restrictive and had the greatest impact on our budget. This has led to the inability to hire appropriate staff and fund important requests in departmental budgets like staff training. Trends in the ERP have shown the City of Onalaska is receiving substantially less in revenue than it used to. This budget exceeds the expenditure restraint cap in order to fund important staffing needs and departmental expenses. The ERP in the future will be calculated on the new expenditure base, and the city will once again qualify for the payment. This executive budget successfully meets the levy limit restraint. Public safety. By using allowable levy, this budget accepts proposals from the fire and police chief and expands staffing by 3 police officers and 2 firefighter EMTs. Elected officials. Recognizing the important work of the elected officials, this executive budget increases the wages paid to the mayor and the expenses paid to the common council. Organizational efficiency. Items historically budgeted intermittently through the capital improvement program, but often needing upgrades more frequently, are included in the general fund of this budget proposal. This includes technology items like Microsoft Office and the telephones. By moving to an annualized cost, these items will always remain current and functioning. Personnel efficiency is not always a function of having less people do more work, but rather having the right amount of people doing the right work. As such, this budget proposal includes increased staffing in the HR department and the Public Works department. Staffing changes in other departments enacted during 2019 remain fully funded for 2020. The budget presented this evening is a recommendation to the citizens of Onalaska and Onalaska Common Council. I believe it represents a way to keep Onalaska a desirable place to live, work, and play. I look forward to assisting you in the completion of the 2020 final budget. Respectfully submitted, Eric Rindfleisch, Onalaska City Administrator. Hope had pointed out in the previous item on the agenda regarding the survey. I think that highlights some of the changes that I'm requesting in the survey. It does include staffing and making sure that we provide the right tools and equipment to the staff to do their job well. For fear of stealing a little bit of your thunder, Fred, if you would skip ahead with me to, in your budget book, there's an orange sheet called Cap 1. They're all orange, right, Fred? Oh, great, they're yellow in their books. So look for the yellow one then. There we go. Orange in mine. Yep, and we'll go to Cap 2 next.
The orange is right behind the yellow. This goes pink.
So on what's listed as Cap number 1 in Fred's handwriting, if you look down in the lower left-hand corner, you see 2 columns called Received Through Restraint Payment. If you go back in time to 1990 to 2000, the payment received from the state for meeting our expenditure caps was $263,000. If you look now for 2019 to 2020, that's down to $71,000. And so when I refer to the expenditure restraint payment, that's the number I'm referring to now, that we're getting almost a quarter less than we had in recent times. The reason for that is the state legislator has funded this again, as they do every 2 years, but it hasn't changed since the program started. It's set at the same 58 million, I believe, Joe, the number was. 58 million. But it's not as if we have 4 times as many communities that qualify for it. The calculation is not just every community gets the same amount. For example, La Crosse gets about 1.4 million in expenditure restraint payment, which obviously is substantially more than what we're currently receiving. Moving on to the next sheet called Cap 2. It's the 2019 Municipal Levy Limit Worksheet. Circled under line 6, we hear often talking about net new construction, which is 0.823. That's the magical number that we talk a lot about in development, is that the only way to grow our ability to increase the allowable levy is through net new construction, which is, as it says, it's not total construction, it's net. If I have a $2 million building I take down and I put up a $3 million building, the net is only $1 million. And so redevelopment becomes more and more, that cap becomes harder and harder to hit. If you flip on the back side, or actually page 2 of the 3, it says Section D, Adjustments to Allowable Levy Limit. In short, when you do the calculation, you remove off your last year's or your current year's debt servicing, you run through this Section D, and then you add it back in on the front page. What I do want to point out, though, is in particular line Q. Line Q, when we talk about in other topics, a regional services fee or a new fee that we collect on our taxpayers, either we retain it or we send it out to La Crosse in this case for what's being requested. You'll see that if you carry over to line 2, the amount collected becomes a subtraction on our levy limit. So current proposals is what we're hearing is that we just add this fee to our tax bills or our quarterly utility bills. That money would be collected. The amount, to jump ahead, being requested is just under $500,000. But because you have to reduce your levy by the same $500,000, it's a double impact. So I want to point that out on the worksheet that when we move forward in that further conversations, your levy limit worksheet has a direct impact there. Any fees that you collect that are new fees, you reduce your levy, regardless of where you go or what you do with them.
I'm sorry, Eric, to clarify, in that case, the City of Onalaska would be out $1 million if we were to enact the proposed fee.
Correct.
Thank you.
Well, the city would only be out the $500,000, but the taxpayer would
City
be out $1 million.
taxpayers, yes.
Yes, absolutely. And then moving up, one of the options then is, do we transfer services or what have you, under line J? If we were to contract for services with one entity to another, this also has potentially if you look over in the column, it's a subtraction, once again. So we could pay someone to do a service that we currently are doing, but you likewise still have to reduce your levy by the same amount that you're paying somebody. So once again, it's a double penalty. The league, Joe, I know talks about this a lot, and maybe you can reference that, but when they talk about there's no incentive on the state budgetary process for cooperation, this is what they're referring to. There's almost always a double penalty. But ironically enough, if you do line K, if we were to contract for service, if we were to do a service and someone would pay us to do it, not only do we collect that revenue from the other people, but we can increase our own levy as well. So there's disincentive for if you're contracting out, but there's double incentive if you were to receive that benefit. So just since we had to have the municipal levy worksheet out there, I wanted to show you where these are directly and very publicly shown and stated. These aren't things that your administrator are making up, and we can engage that conversation later on. So that's the initial budget proposal. You just received the books today. Don't expect a whole lot of conversation on that. Fred, you may want to add something about where we stand. Okay. We did do a calculation, and I'm not sure which page that is. I haven't found it yet. But the budget proposal, while exceeding the expense restraint and foregoing that payment in a future year and levying the full amounts that we're able to allow to do the hiring, Fred, I think you calculated it was on an average $200,000 house was less than $100 per household. Oh, on an average $232,000 home, it comes to $96 per house for the staffing request that we put in here.
To levy to the full amount, levying to the full amount.
To just about the full amount, correct.
Thank you.
Pardon me?
It's probably more appropriate if, as chair of the committee to do C and D.
You want me to set? Okay. We need to set the budget hearing for Monday, November 11th, 2019 at 6 PM. Do we have a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Alder K. Smith, seconded by Alder Wolf, to set the budget hearing for Monday, November 11th, 2019 at 6 PM in the council chambers. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So we'll have a lovely Veterans Day. Okay, item, you want me to just take it? Okay.
The only thing, instead of, when you read the possible date, Wednesday, October 30th, is perhaps that October 21st would be another good day for that, Joe.
You want to do it on the 21st, that same day?
At the same meeting? Or it would have to be two different meetings?
Be two different meetings, but on the same day potentially, but someone has a conflict apparently.
Yeah, but the 21st, you have a,
Yeah, I have a conflict. Yeah, I've already moved things around to allow for the 30th since I saw the agenda, so.
As long as we're starting at 4, what if we started earlier? Would that be an option?
We don't know we never know how long budget's going to go. There's been some years where it goes to a second night. Not that I'm predicting it's going to go to a second night this year. We haven't done that for a lot of years.
We can't do it on that 30th?
Yeah, is there a reason why we can't?
Until the action of the council to, we have a hearing scheduled right now, but, which is why asking for that meeting to be set for sometime between, excuse me. The reason for the meeting on the 21st is sometime between Monday and early enough time to give the DNR notice if the council takes action to remove the hearing. So it may still be a date that we could have. The council will have to decide that when we have the meeting on the 21st.
According to my schedule, I won't be available the 11th. I'll be out of town. According to this.
Because I know we've always had the budget hearing, we typically have the budget hearing the day before council, so in case we can't finish up that night, we can finish up council night.
That's the second one.
Right, the second one, yeah, that's,
that is the Monday before council.
but but Jim is talking about that. Jim, you said you're not available November 11th?
No, it doesn't look like it. Let me just go
Yeah.
through this quick here. No. No,
Well, it's really a meeting, everyone needs to be there.
Yeah.
Which means nobody can vote against it, or we can't.
Did we already pass it?
Be available by phone, because I know we've, in the past, have called you that evening also. Would I be able to reach you by phone?
Oh, that's for budget? That's gonna be,
It's for the public budget hearing, not for the FMP two meeting.
Yeah, this is the public.
Public hearing, the big one.
I suppose. Probably wouldn't be able to hear anybody, but. Well, it's no different than being here. Do what you have to do, guys. I'm not gonna be the only one that's gonna screw up everything, so just go ahead and plan that.
Okay,
So now we're looking at the FNP two meeting. That's the long, usually a long meeting.
that's the long meeting.
It's usually at least 3 hours, if not 4.
Yeah.
And that's the 30th, right?
Yeah, but I know, Eric, you're talking about maybe moving it, doing it all. I mean, if I have to cancel my 21st, I'll cancel the 21st, but,
I could
It
do
was-
earlier in the day.
It was only because we happened to have a special meeting scheduled that, instead of having multiple meetings, but
yeah.
it's completely up to you, to whichever works.
What was that? What were you thinking about?
Date, the 21st
We have both meetings on the 21st,
Yeah.
The first of,
of October,
October, yeah.
October.
Because the first part of the meeting shouldn't last very long, right? We could allow,
Right.
we could have this meeting, the next meeting start at 4:15 or immediately following
Yes.
action on the other one. Because the first meeting is the full council meeting, and the one we're talking about now is FMP, although traditionally the entire council attends.
you're
It
doing
is
the,
FMP.
if you're doing the 21st, I'll be here.
The 21st.
Yeah.
21st.
But then Diane.
That's the big meeting.
Well, I'll go ahead and I'll cancel again.
We'll try to get through it quickly for you.
There's
Oh, no,
way we won't.
there's no, you have to grind it out. It could be 3 to 4 hours, yeah.
Quickly
You
means
have
we'll
to
get
s-
through it in 4 hours.
I would
So
roughly
what time
say
are we
3
gonna start that
hours.
one?
Just
This gets,
So if the first
Right
one
after
starts
the-
at 4, maybe by
4:15.
15.
4:15, 4:30.
So we should be done by 10 or 11.
We got to eat in there somewhere.
Dan usually gets pizza.
Oh, we have to have this room.
You have it on the calendar?
There's nothing on the calendar for the 21st.
Oh, do we have precedent?
What's in here on
I
the,
can, if you want to wait a few minutes, I'll go back in my office and clarify, but when I printed out the calendar for the council chambers, there's nothing on that night.
They have court that night, on the 21st.
Let's just wait. Can you please do that? Because I would rather,
because
Yeah,
it's too hard for us to get all our calendars together.
yeah. That's why when I saw it on the agenda, I went, oh, I just cleared everything. I had it set for the, I didn't realize that we were going to be changing.
I was planning on doing it the 30th,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's fine at least. I looked at my work calendar. I can't think of anything.
You could always give, on the 30th, always could be a back.
But I know they start advertising. Yeah.
21st works.
It'll be a
We
lot.
do have October 21st listed as a joint court night, starting at 3:30. They're typically done by 5.
Or there is a court,
So we could have the first meeting over there
Yeah,
and then move here.
and then move over here for the FMP2 meeting.
on the 21st.
Full council meeting could be over in room there, and this one could be.
We're dropping like flies. No one else leave.
Yeah.
At this point, we're having a meeting about meetings.
Yeah.
If court doesn't have the room reserved, they could use the training room downstairs.
This is very interesting on YouTube right now.
I know, I feel bad for anybody attending remotely.
Right,
And the minutes keeper, sorry.
right. Sorry, Kirk.
Sorry, Kirk.
We also feel bad for Connor.
I feel bad for Connor, sitting in
So
the.
Connor, what are you doing the 21st? Oh, sorry.
No, they don't, Connor. They're just telling
by
you that to
choice.
ease your pain.
What did I get into?
Because I think Hildy just banks on this room being available.
Oh,
No, because we usually have it booked, we have the calendar set,
Okay.
gives us all the dates, like for the year.
If you go to the 2019 court calendar, it's on there. October 21st, 3:30 joint night court.
Wasn't late to schedule a meeting room.
I mean, worst case, we could either move them downstairs. I think they'll be done by 5. I mean, typically courts,
But we're meeting at 4 and 4:15.
well, we could start over there at least for the council meeting.
so we're on item D. We did have it set up for the third, did we have a motion?
No,
No, we didn't have any motions.
No.
no.
Item D, and there's no motion on the
Okay.
floor or anything.
So what is the wishes of the council? What are the wishes of the council?
I think
Do we have
can work
wishes?
out the room thing one way or the other.
I think there's a preference if we can do both meetings on the same day. That would be more efficient. And if we're going to rearrange schedules, if we only had to do that once, that would be better. And if we had to be in a different room for part of it, it doesn't matter if we're in the fire chief's bay. I don't care where we meet.
Just so we post it, I mean.
Right.
Do council members feel comfortable with the city clerk conferring with staff and confirming what the calendar is going to be and sending a follow-up email regarding item D for time?
The only thing I have a problem with is these are bigger meetings and they're not going to be televised if we're not in this room.
I mean, worst case, we ask court to be downstairs.
Because I think it might be more practical for what we're doing to ask them to move instead of having us in a different room for these particular items. Because
Yeah.
I just feel they're something that the public will have interest in.
And they are not on the schedule currently?
They do not have the room reserved for that evening. So I don't know if the date got added later, and it wasn't communicated or what happened, but
And I say zoink, we take it, and if they have to move downstairs, that's, it's better for the public record if this is televised.
well, I
Yes.
feel it's important enough to be televised.
Yes,
Sure.
I agree.
I agree.
I move that we set the FMP 2 meeting for October 21st at 4:15 or immediately following the previous city council meeting that will also be scheduled for that evening at a location to be determined and included in the announcement when the meeting is posted.
Second?
Motion by Alder K. Smith, seconded by Alder Stevens to set the F&P 2 meeting immediately following the special council meeting on October 21st at a room to be determined in City Hall. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Abstentions? So moved. Is that everything there then? Okay. To consider a motion to convene in closed session under section 19.85, parent 1, parent E of the Wisconsin statutes for the purpose of deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. in this case, discussion and negotiation strategy regarding the proposed sanitary sewer agreement with the city of La Crosse, IAFF, International Association of Firefighters, Local 127 for bargaining purposes, OPPA, Onalaska Professional Police Association for bargaining purposes, and SWORD, Supervisor Officers Relation Division for bargaining purposes. If any action is required in open session as a result of the closed session, the council will reconvene in open session to take the necessary action and/or continue on with the printed agenda.
Motion to go into closed.
Second.
Motion made by Alder Olson, seconded by Alder Wolf, to go into closed session. Roll call.
Kim Smith,
Aye.
Boone Ayer,
Aye.
Diane Wolf,
Aye.
Jim Olson,
Aye.
Tom Smith,
Aye.
Dan Stevens.
Aye.
Stand in closed session at, somebody have the,
8:02.
8:02.
8:02.